Ladies and gentlemen, it is 5:30. I'll call this meeting to order. Today is July 15th. We'll start with a salute to the flag. Vice Chair Rodriguez, would you lead us in the pledge, please? There it is.
The little flag.
On either side.
Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, I will start with roll call. I am Tammy Ruff, the chair. Next to me,
Vice Chair Rodriguez, present.
Trustee Andrea Tavener. And I'd like to welcome our two new trustees to the board. Thrilled to have you here. And also we have ADA Herb Kaplan and we have Director McClure. So we are ready to go. We'll start with reports, the director's report.
Okay. The whole time too. Okay, is this good? Okay, you can hear me? Wonderful. So I had divided everything before I started here. I divided everything nicely into 3 months. But as you know, what you think you know of the library before you start and what you find out after you start is different. So a lot of the elements from the 60 and 90 days are combined together and going in a slightly different order. So just to continue an assessment, I'll be beginning one-on-one sessions with branch managers. They are excitedly waiting for me to do it. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. Looking at program assessment and monthly branch reports. We have a format for monthly branch reports that's cumulative, that is just a bare outline of what is going on with links to staff reports. So we have a way and also a way to kind of catalog our pictures so we can search on early literacy and stuff for photos when you're doing reports, as opposed to going into currently each branch keeps their own photos and they send their best ones into marketing, at their request. So I want it to be able to be searchable by everyone, and that's an important thing. I'm working on strategic hiring with the assistance of the county. I'm going to be talking about a staff report, so I'll talk more on that. Review of planning time and time off desk. Our staff, as talented as they are incredibly busy. And the comment is that planning is not something they've thought about for they've had time for a long time. And that there is often not enough staff. I wanted to share with you, Kristen from the downtown library shared with me her, oops, wrong piece of paper. Shared with me her work hours on desk. Now, a branch manager is supposed to manage the desk. They're supposed to work on staffing issues, on purchases, organization of the branch, the scheduling, and then do the strategic planning on how that branch helps meet the entire mission. This is when they were on 6 days of work. So I'm just going to give you an example. October 2025, on desk 75% of the work week. Week 2, 77.5% of the work week. Week 3, on desk 62.5% of the work week. And week 4, on desk 77.5% of the work week. So all the work that is supposed to go into strategic planning there, because of staff shortages, we have branch managers on the desk. After we went down to 5 days from 6, it lessened somewhat, but it was still mostly in the high 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s every week. So making staffing decisions and trying to plan in that type of atmosphere is very difficult. And I know a lot of the branch managers need to go on desk throughout the day. I've been looking into possibilities on a delayed opening for planning, which would also reduce some staff needs. And looking at time reserved for research and planning so they can look at best practices and introduce them at their branches. Like I said, the staff is very talented, and in our discussions of strategic planning going forward, they've got great ideas and they keep up on best practices, but the time to enact them is often not there with the branch managers. Looking at board review, every board has a different setup. We have a governing board, but at the same time, I report as a department to the county. And sometimes those things work well together, and at other times they may not. When going forward, I know Dave Solero mentioned that there is some county training that they developed for the board, but I've always used a program with United for Libraries. United for Libraries is the organization in ALA that is run by trustees. It's about trustee development and activities. And United for Libraries has something called Trustee Academy. And it's comprehensive training in how to be a part of a library board, and specific to libraries. They have like I said, the comprehensive initial training, and then additional training for each facet of board work. There's even the possibility of someone coming out from the state to do, in my last library, we had someone come out to do a like 2/3 of a day board retreat. And a ton of subjects were covered within that. So that's a possibility. But I know that in the previous board, a couple of board members had not completed the onboarding training, if I'm stating that right. And part of our stuff for the public library survey that goes to the state is a requirement for board hours. And so the board is required to track their hours in training and report it to us for the public library survey. So that's something that we need to do. Taking on a role in advocacy. This is going to be very important going forward. Advocacy is considered the main task, and you would see that in the trustee training of a library board. And this would be state, regional, local, and especially to the Board of County Commissioners. In the state, the state will give the board worksheets on, who we need to contact in the government. They give sample letters. And there is, actually, I have to double check. Is it called Legislative Day here as well? Anyone know? Okay, Legislative Day, where board members can go talk to state officials and make their case for more money for libraries, which are always on the brink of getting cut. So that's going to be something that we can institute for the board. But sometimes, you just have to send one representative. I've seen a whole team go up in a car and talk with different, state representatives to further library interests. So, and with the Board of County Commissioners, we had an issue in the last fiscal year of, I was not here for this, so I don't know the complete history of a recommendation that when we lost the expansion fund because of the vote, we were losing that funding, and it was sudden in the middle of a fiscal year. So funds were assigned to us, and there was a board recommendation. I'm not sure if it was from a single member or several members, that those funds needed to be scrutinized and not go to us without scrutiny, because they felt that it wasn't needed in the budget. And this is a previous board, mind you. The hope is that we can educate you what we do, and that's what I'm going to do on staffing today. So we make sure that we're really in sync and that the board is supporting us in everything to the Board of County Commissioners. I tend to have plain speaking. So bringing up these items. Staff projects, we're working on assignments for hot topics for our leadership team meeting. So staff are aware every week of new best practices. I had planned on applying for the LSTA grant. There was just no time with end of year, and I wanted to give a good product to represent the library. And just didn't have some of the answers I needed. Budget partnerships and community assessment. It's been an interesting situation. I'm the first, I don't know if I mentioned this in the previous meeting, I'm the first department head that has joined without like an assistant director or a director that stayed for training, or some previous program years ago. So the recognition has been, we should have some kind of overall training for new department heads. I have not received any training. I often learn things by doing them, having it turned back as an error and having to redo. So that's 3 times the amount of time. I didn't know the basic setup of how the county and library work together. For example, that there are certain things the county manages in the budget that I have no ability to change. I found that out about 2 months in. If I want to hire specific positions, I need to bring those to a specific committee, and then it goes into review, and they can decide whether they want to hire that person, if it should be a lower position, and how much they should be paid. So there are lots of restrictions with the county. The county does wonderful things to support us and fund us and work with us, but the lack of training has been a barrier in getting to do things correctly. Just like I said, I even said in a meeting recently, couldn't somebody have sat down and just in 30 minutes tell me how the county works and what decisions I make and what I can't? That has not happened as of yet. I've asked frequently for spending a day or a couple of afternoons in the comptroller's department, the finance department, asking to train on those things, and I don't get answers for those requests. It's still like under advisement, but it helps if I know how to approve purchase orders and requisitions, how to approve staffing reports and things like that. Because I still don't know. And like I said, when I come up with something, I try to find out the answer, but there's no assistant director. And the staff at the library have not been in the position to make those decisions. So it's very difficult to get answers. Our financial staff were hired as clerical staff. They also had zero training on how to record purchase orders and keep things moving. They had zero training. The person who was hired asked multiple times for training, and we're told, well, you can call when you have a problem. Instead of being given any training. So you open up something and you don't even know what to click on to get to the first page. She had to download manuals and read manuals to learn how to do it. And I mean, that staff still doesn't know how to print basic reports that I ask for. Okay. The 27 budget was completed before I got here. The current budget, as I mentioned before, has some very general categories. And at the end of the year, those end up largely, hugely overspent or underspent. Because sometimes wherever there is money, that's where a purchase lands. And the county has said, as long as our final line, is above zero, we're okay. I would like to make budget lines that actually reflect what we're spending, but it's difficult for me to find what was spent because these categories there are positive and negative by tens of thousands sometimes. I'm not aware of I would have to go back and examine every purchase order of the last 5 years to find exactly where the money goes. So I'd like to do that, but I've been told to wait to 28 because that's decided this fall, because 27 is already decided. So we might be able to create some of our own Excel sheets to track where the money is going, but it's hard to introduce workplace efficiencies into a budget when you don't know exactly where the money is spent and what items have actually been charged to a category. And we have several categories that list zero money, but the actuals are like $18,000 spent. So I would like to transfer money, but unfortunately that may have to wait till 28. And like I said, this is plain speaking, this is just what the situation is. It's not saying, It's just what the situation is. I believe in acting from information. That's what I tell everybody. That's why the last couple months have been so hard, not having the information and trying to act. But it's important to know how these things work, especially for the board. I put budget training, never again. I am never again be in the position of not understanding where the money is. By hook or by crook, I'm gonna get my training. And find that out. So it's difficult at this point to I know where I want to go with the budget, but it's difficult at this point to assess this one and how that transforms into the 28 budget. You know, I have plenty of people willing to give me advice, and we have a fiscal agent that's very helpful. Her comment was you need a fiscal manager as soon as possible. When I raised it with the county with someone, and I can't remember who, so I can't say how high this was. They were like, oh, you'll never get that. You'll have to get something much smaller. So some of that decision making is not in my purview. I was trying to think of that word. Thank you. I love people that jump in. So a lot of our funding disappeared at the end of the year because we weren't spent out. We had several things happen right at the very end of the fiscal year. Our servers started failing and we need them ASAP. So there were funds at the end of the year, but because our purchase order was rejected because it wasn't, there were other steps which I didn't know about. Because I haven't been trained on the purchasing. So it was pushed back. And even though we had submitted it in 26, even though it was late 26, we can't get the funding. So there has been there's substantial money that was just absorbed back into the county, and that's great for the county, and we're always happy to support the county. But it's difficult for me as a director. I believe in zero-sum budgeting.
Sorry to interrupt. Chair Rupp, for the record, do you know what the dollar amount is that went back? Because Mr. Solero led us to believe that the money was going to be available to be spent at the last time we spoke. And immediately,
There were more steps than I knew there were. And I have to admit, a lot of our things came in at the end of the year. Because remember, the end of the year, I was here, you know, 2 months.
sure, right.
So, you know, I'm really proud of all that I've learned,
Sure.
but there's so much more to learn.
Is there a dollar amount that you remember? That
No, it's just well, we were going to get, just for example, we were going to get 72,000 because of the issue with the purchase order that went back. But it's a high figure, and I can have that for you next time.
Thank
Okay, so system-wide purchasing, I told you the budget does not reflect actual costs. I want to change to zero. So zero-sum budgeting and accurate forecasting, I want to change. So we know where the money is assigned. People know how much they have to spend instead of saying, is there any money anywhere? And having it assigned, I want people to have the right amounts assigned and they have up to there to spend no more. And determining strategic budget priorities. As we build the strategic plan, we have to see how we're able to apportion funds correctly that reflect the strategic priorities. Okay, I'm gonna try and make the rest of this shorter. It's a longer report, but this is important information. Capital improvement plan, I mentioned, we need to review. We don't have enough things going to the capital improvement plan. And I would like to see us make sure that we are making those things. Okay, forecasting funding in a new strategic plan. I wrote here that I'm looking at 3, 5, 10, and 20 years. To forecast what we need. Nevada is rated by 2 different sources as 5th or 8th in potential growth, and number 3 in GDP growth. So overall growth of the county and GDP growth in the US. So our South Valley's branch here is too small. We have to look at what's going to happen with that. And other branches are going to need renovation or replacement. And we need to make sure that we can anticipate when that's going to happen and get it on and have it go into capital planning. So we can assess financials and where we need to save money. Facilities plan, I contacted facilities. They said they think they do a review every 2 years. What I want to do is, but they're not sure when our last facilities review is. I want to bring county facilities in to have them point out the problems and what they think the life of a branch should be. And then rank our needs in every branch for each branch and then rank them in an overall list. So we're building a facilities plan for the future. So we just don't say this branch is unusable, we have to close because of all these failing systems or something. We want to know what we're going to build based on the growth rate, but then also declining enrollment in schools. So it's interesting when you look at the different figures. Technology plan for the same thing. Like I said, we needed the new servers at the end of the fiscal year. Now it's got to come out of 27 funds, which there are friends funding, but it's going to wipe out, most of the, almost all the funding for technology, and we're in the beginning of the year. And I'm not sure what the bidding procedure is. I have to look into that, but I just saw that from my notes. I don't know if there's a regular plan for bids for ongoing costs we have. Any of the staff here know how and on how often it's negotiated? But in previous organizations, a lot of bids were renegotiated after 3 or 5 years. I don't know if you know, Herb, about that. And we ask for increases in certain things or decreases. We look at the costs, and sometimes we can minimize those costs. So I have to look at the overall process. There's a lot of bills that we pay automatically that I was discussing with Aaron Williams, the person who manages purchase orders. And those things just continue from year to year. So if I'm going to have workplace efficiencies, I have to review all those things. Staffing plan, I'm going to talk about that in that report. And a public service spending review, looking at strategically at the cost benefit of programs, major services or tasks, evaluate how they have served the strategic plans. and whether there was a return on investment to community, and review our program services and policies about what we do based on that. And how we can improve purchasing protocols for review and approval so it's all tracked appropriately. Skip over, not much is going on in partnerships. I need to work on that this month. I have some appointments set up, but I need more. Am I taking too long, Debbie?
No, you're good.
Okay. I like to look for people to see in their faces what I saw you looking at your watch. I want to make sure I'm not destroying the timing. Community assessment. We're looking at statistical resources. The environmental scan database should be going up in August or September, which is going to be where the data for the system is tracked branch by branch and system-wide. Because, my concern is system-wide quality and branch equity, and that's an important part of what we do in the future. And on the one-year working plan, had certain goals for strategic assessment. I'm adapting some of those based on branch availability. Branches have been sending, and I said I would send a request, and they're sending it, and I didn't, and they're sending it anyways with details. So kudos to branch staff. They're like, we're ready to go, Lisa, get us going. And I have to find the time between finding out where purchase requisition is, and how to click on it, to get back to some of the more important matters. And that's the review going forward.
All right, thank you, Director McClure, for that. Can you hear me? Sound like it's hard to hear. I'm glad you brought that to our attention, because that seems to be quite a bit from the county that's, letting you down, letting us down. So I'll reach out to the individuals that I know. I'm sorry that Commissioner Hill isn't here tonight, because that would have been really great for her to hear.
I know, I was going to be poking her when I saw
regarding-
her thing up there.
Regarding the training situations. And I don't know if any other trustees have questions too. I'd like to open up if you have questions for Director McClure.
The one thing that I was somewhat concerned about, and Chair Ruff kind of mentioned, was the purchase order that you requested that was rejected because it wasn't quite done properly. What I'd like to know is what was missing from the purchase order requisition that got it rejected. What was the purchase order for? You said you weren't really quite sure of the amount, but you mentioned 72,000.
Well, there were a couple of things. One of them originally thought our servers were going to be 72,000. And it looks like we're going to be able to get powerful computers instead that will fit the needs and that will be more flexible for our uses.
So it was for servers then?
It was just details, and I was not aware it had to go through some steps to get before it was sent in. Brenda, I'm probably not doing a good description of that, but
Okay, because it sounds like you're saying that the purchase order requisition was $72,000 request for servers. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay,
a number of our servers are failing.
okay.
The one at the main library is very problematic, and we are able, when things are patched together because it's not working, the internet computers are heavily, what's the word, Debbie? Not limited, when filtered. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so they're heavily filtered. Okay.
Right, which our patrons do not like. And that's not our policy as a library. It's free access to information. And it's quite limited. But it was just making sure we had the steps done in a timely manner. This was a last minute failure at the main library, so the timeline was moved up. But we are at going into the 6th year of servers that are expected to last 3 years. You know, the more you spend on something, the longer it lasts. So there are ones you can get that are a 5-year, but that's considerably more money. Like we were looking at 72,000. The next upgrade to the was with preferred was 126,000. Now we see we can do something for 42. But the process of submitting it to county IT, and they review and they have questions and can make changes. And I was not aware of the total process. And we were promised the money, but then with the error, we could not hold that money over because it was at the end of the fiscal year. Next year, there are going to be deadlines that, yes, purchase orders have to be the county at a certain date, but we are going to ask staff, or I'm going to change it so staff had to submit, at least 3 weeks before.
Okay, and so that's kind of my next question. So whatever the issue is now, you know what to do moving forward and
Yes.
it's been resolved. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And like I said, I'm still learning some of the things that I'm not sure went wrong. And, I tried a couple of days to call and find out what the issue was. And they all said they were too busy with end of the year and now starting the year to get back to me.
Okay, well, thank you.
And I don't mean my report to be negative because I'm aware of the issues. By hook or by crook, I'm getting my training. If I just have to go to another department head and say, can you give me an overview of how you deal with the county? And this is just, they didn't have an established procedure. So, but like I said, forecasting, you would think that they would say, gee, what if someone comes in without a director, an assistant director? So it's kind of making it up as I go along and adjusting when I do it wrong. But like I said, the county supports us in a lot of other ways. I have the ability to meet with HR weekly to talk about my needs. But there are things like, getting an overview of what the current issues are going to HR and how many staff, instead of an avenue to find that out, it's talk to the branch managers individually and see if they're having any problems, as opposed to getting a higher level report of current. I just want to know how many issues are going on. I don't have to know the details because I have to be a neutral person if it goes forward. But just finding out, what the processes are.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for the reports. Did you have something?
Madam Chair, Herb Kaplan for the record. I just want to make a recommendation. Dave Solaro is our Assistant County Manager. He was somewhat the acting director prior to your arrival. He would be the resource to reach out to, probably answer all your questions. So contact Dave.
Okay. Yeah, Dave has been extremely helpful.
All right. There, any other discussion about that?
You,
Go ahead.
you sure?
You go.
Um. Green. I'm brand new to this, so I'm just trying to help you along the way. I have one question. How much time have you spent working with the staff on the floor in each branch?
I've gone to, there is nothing I want more than to get out more often. I'm often dealing with emergencies and issues and trying to figure things out at this point. I am gonna start scheduling, I'm gonna give the staff a schedule tomorrow to start scheduling branch one-on-ones with the branch managers, but I have visited all the branches and discussed issues with many of them. And I do want to get out and visit programs and stuff to review how successful they are, but I have reviewed the list of events and stuff to kind of see what's going on. And then the branch reports are going to help quite a bit. But it is my desire to get out and learn more. I wish I could spend a portion of every day doing that. It's just, it's been very, very busy. And I do talk to them about specific issues they face. But it's been a tough start. And there are only so many hours in a day.
I think that, the cheat code for you with this, us all working together, is to spend some time in each branch and to spend a shift in each branch, or at least a portion of the shift, to get to know how staff works with community and community works with staff. You know,
Right.
you'll see some of the reasons why a branch manager would be at a desk. Because sometimes a community member may feel more confident to go to a branch manager. Oh, that lady sitting at the desk right now, that person sitting at the desk. And I think that's a cheat code. I think that can help you very much to alleviate a lot of the issues that you might be having, is to get on the floor and to meet different branch managers and see how the production of the library works. Because very much a production. And I think that would help tremendously.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Please bear with me. Thank you so much for this report. For the record, Andrea Tavener. I do have, and I apologize, I do have a laundry list of some questions. I am super detail oriented, so it would be very helpful moving forward with some of these reports. I would love to see like a start date, a timeline, benchmarks, and more specifics than just ongoing. For me, I'd like to know, like you mentioned, you're going to be meeting with the branch managers tomorrow. That's very helpful. But for me, seeing all the ongoings, I don't know exactly if it's been started, where we're at in the process. Moving forward, that would be very helpful for that. The other thing is, you mentioned about staffing. I think it would also be helpful for the board if we could see a report of what staff are currently assigned to each branch and what their job titles are. Specifications would be helpful, but I know how to look that up. So I don't know if that would be helpful for the rest of the trustees.
I'm sorry, what did you say? What word?
Like class specifications.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what their job responsibilities entail. And the reason I think that would be helpful is you mentioned that the library lost out on that funding because the purchase order wasn't done. There was missing information or whatever. That's super concerning. There used to be a staff person in admin that was directly assigned to work with the purchasing office. And there was also an account clerk. So I think when some of these issues are brought to our attention, it would be very helpful to see
I mean, there
the
is
job classification and which branch and whether they're admin staff and
what their actual job classification states as part of their responsibilities.
Okay.
Um, The other thing that I just was hoping to, and also if we could include vacancies on that. Because you mentioned maybe reclassing, hiring different staff, that would be helpful to know exactly.
I mean, I do have, our list of vacancies. It's
Yeah,
it's
if we
not
could
very.
get, yeah, if we could get emailed that or just have that included at the next board report,
it's-
that would be lovely.
It's changing. For example, county HR printed out a list and said, no, these are all your vacancies, but actually there was a bunch of hirings and they haven't made it as completed yet because we still have to onboard the people.
Okay,
So they're
okay,
hired, but they're not in the system yet.
okay. Thank you for that.
I mean, I can tell you exactly what our vacancies are, but.
Yeah,
but that
yeah,
we don't need to
I'm
have
a,
list
I'm
right
a
now.
print gal.
Okay.
I really like to, so that I can review it and formulate what type of questions I have. Which is a good lead in. When you had mentioned the board review and onboarding and that we needed to complete the training, are you talking about the training that the county manager's office had sent out stating that we needed to complete it in August? Or are you referencing a different training? Because I know I'm personally signed up for the first session in August. It's like on a Friday from 1 to 5.
Is it a county training?
It is, for all new and existing board members.
Okay. For all boards?
Mhm.
See, that's going to be very different from a library trustee onboarding, which is about
And is that the
how
one that the
libraries
state of
work,
Nevada?
how a trustee serves the library and what their duties are towards the library.
Okay, and is that the one that the state of Nevada offers?
The what?
The state of Nevada Library, is that the training that you're
I mean, this
referencing?
is a national program, United for Libraries.
Okay.
And you can often get someone to come out, but like I said, they have comprehensive online classes.
Okay, thank you very much.
And presentations.
Okay, thank you. And then you mentioned about an LSTA grant. Was that were you hoping to get that for a specific project?
For an early literacy project, but I just didn't have enough information, enough feedback. The time I found I could spend on the grant was spent on year-end activities and other urgent issues, the servers and stuff.
Okay, thank you very much. I do know that if money is left over at the end of the fiscal year, depending on which category it falls in, the county has been known to swipe that, and then the library would not get that back. So,
So like I said, a portion of the abeyance funds, all are unused staffing funds, which because I was, hired late, very late in the fiscal year, my salary, the assistant director's salary, and the vacancy salaries. We had some funding come to us that was back from salary savings, but most of it is absorbed back by the county.
okay.
And like I said, in the abeyance funds as well.
And were those positions also lost because they've been known to swipe positions if that funding is taken back as well?
There was one error where a request for a reclassification of appointment was sent in by staff members who had not previously done it. And it was, they thought that we asked for one thing, they thought it was another thing, and a position was removed, an FTE was removed. And we were told it was too late in the year. It was lost, where I would hope in a different situation, they would recognize that the people completing it had never done it before. and would get back to us. And we did get a question, um, but it didn't really show what they were asking. And that position was unfortunately lost. And that's no fault of the staff. They were trying to do something that they didn't, that was brand new to both.
Okay.
So I mentioned that I would hope that next time, if there is an error, obviously no one wants to give up FTEs, and I've been very clear that I'm looking to somehow add positions, either manipulating current staff positions or moving forward, but that's not much of a possibility. But I'm going to do the best with what we have.
Thank you for clarifying that. That's unfortunate. That's, yeah, I'm really sorry to hear because I know staff is already stretched thin at most locations. So the other thing that I think would be very helpful is one of our tasks are to monitor expenditures. So I think it would be very helpful for this board to see monthly spreadsheets on where we're at on a month-by-month basis. I know that in prior meetings, the board was always given monthly budgeting sheets, Excel spreadsheets. That would be extremely helpful because it's very hard for us to monitor and do what we're tasked to do without that kind of backup. So I think that would be very helpful moving forward.
I was gonna do to aid succession planning, I was gonna do a presentation on the 27 budget, to staff in an upcoming meeting. And I can give you an update on what the 27 budget looks like, and we can print a report
Yeah,
for you
but that-
guys. Just
I would really
doesn't have
appreciate
to
that,
be
not to be
debated,
a,
it just can be in
yeah,
the
I like
packet.
to look and then I can see month to month what's happening and
Okay.
what's being spent. That would be super
Like
helpful.
I said,
So,
it might be a bit difficult to understand in the format that the budget is in currently.
okay. And then the other question I had, thank you so much. You mentioned that with the strategic plan that the state did extend that. Yay.
Yes.
So is April 2026 the new extension that they provided? Because the last written
Yeah, I mean,
waiver that I saw was the end of
y-
December.
I have to ask towards the, in the weeks before the end of the current extension for an additional extension, but I'm told that we will get it absolutely no problem.
Did they send that to you in an email out of curiosity? Or was it a phone conversation with someone at the state of Nevada? I always like to get stuff in writing from the
I
state.
know,
Just saying. Because I
I
would
mean,
hate
we are
to
told
see.
it will not be a problem. Some things are hard to get in writing,
Okay,
but it's clear with the state
okay.
that,
Is it
yeah,
Sue
maybe
Lynn?
it'll go through June, but my plan is to have the strategic plan completed by next April.
Okay, yeah, I would really encourage that something be submitted to them, even if it's via email, that you believe that we're going to need longer, based on all of the circumstances.
Well, the thing is all the meetings are, a lot of stuff is scheduled for, fall. So though they're holding some information, Jamie, I need to get reminded of the deadline on that again. It's probably last week. For, oh, I'm sorry, I blanked again.
Okay.
I can't remember what I was saying, but, if you remember your question, but I'm just saying
Okay.
we should be fine.
Okay, that's, those were, I think, the only questions that I had regarding this working plan. I just would really like to see more details, start dates, timelines, benchmarks, just more specific details, and then the reports that
I mean, the 30, 60, 90 is about gathering the information for planning. It's hard to get a deadline if I don't know if I'm going to be able to do something at this point, or I don't understand how something works, or we don't know when it can be posted or something. So I will be including more deadlines as time goes on. This is just the 30, 60, 90 plan is about how I'm gathering information, learning as your director, how to manage this library and what's needed in the future. And I think I've really gotten very far in my research, but there is more research to come. And some of it may, with the appointments with community partners, may go beyond the 90 days, but it's all part of the same plan. The deadlines come with the working plan and the deadlines for the strategic plans. And in the previous agenda, I did list the dates, the months for the drafts, and more information about that timeline.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll review. Was that the one at Incline that just occurred?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
I can
I'll,
pull that information and send it to you.
okay.
But I
have
just
it.
listed
Yeah,
the
I just
draft,
haven't.
the draft dates, because we're gonna have a first, second, and third draft in that. The first is, the first try.
Right.
And it's gonna get reviewed really hard before the second one, and we're gonna invite community people to look at the plan, and then the third is the final plan. And those versions are January, February, and April,
Okay, thank you for that.
I believe.
And then I just want to mention, which I know that you're aware, is the county will be looking at in October for the next year's funding. So again, getting those reports on a monthly basis will also help us
October on what spending?
for the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
So
No,
that would
I'm
be,
working on that budget already,
okay, thank you. Yeah, that would be super helpful if we could see that.
because I know that, changes, a lot of the discussion will happen August, and then as we move forward there, it'll be, finalizing things. So I'm trying to build an accurate budget, but the 30, 60, 90 is about finding out the details so I can do that. I have to have an intricate understanding of how the system works, how the budget works, how staffing works, and how our plans can be implemented with the restrictions we face and the staffing issues we face.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to say with my report, I am so delighted to be here. I'm enjoying every day of my work. Well, there were a couple of days there that were tough, but I'm enjoying every day of my work. And this staff is an absolute pleasure to work with. And everyone goes above and beyond to support me, to send me information. I just mentioned something and I get stuff in my email or in chat. Thought you might want to look at this. Here's the thing from last year. Here's this report that we used to do. And they have just been marvelous with it, even with the staffing levels we have, to take the time out to do that for me. So I'm loving my job. I'm enjoying working with the county, even though I have to get that training issue settled. And I couldn't be more pleased, with my staff and the responses I've had with things. And I think each staff member that we have going forward with the outcomes-based plan has the absolute talent to expand their reach with some of the ideas for transformation that I have. And they're excited about it. Like I said, they're pushing me to get more stuff out once I get past all my like little urgent issues that we're facing and budget concerns. So they're raring to go on this. And so I'm very happy to be here. I'm enjoying my position and the staff and being in Reno.
Yeah, Vice Chair Rodriguez, for the record, loved your questions, by the way. It kind of brings up a question that I have, because we're talking about the 30, 60, 90. That's first 90 days are about completed at this point. What would you say, maybe percentage wise, do you feel like you are on schedule for that 30, 60, 90? How on schedule do you feel at this point?
Well, the schedule started from the presentation of the May meeting. You know, the first, when I originally talked in general about the 30, 60, 90, I wasn't even working here. I always thought I should have got paid for that time. But then I presented the 30, 60, 90 to you. So this, in reporting and in plan, the 30, 60, 90, it ends next month because it was May to June, June to July. That first week that I was here was just classic. Here's
Okay.
where you put your,
Just so for
Stop.
clarification, I know you were, you were here by video in April, I'm not counting that, but you were here May and June. So are you saying the one in May didn't really count then?
I presented in May
Mhm.
how the 30, 60 plan would work, and I had to, and that's when in May, I gave the detailed version of what that would be, which is the document that I work from and add to every month. So I presented it at the May meeting. Then I presented the 30-day report at the June meeting, and July is 60.
Is today.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a bit behind in the exact number of days, but a 30, 60, 90 comes from me. You know, I had a general plan. I was in the middle of moving. I had no furniture. I did the report on like a box when I was did that report with you because my furniture had been picked up that day. So it was quite a day. It was a general report, then the detail of the 30, 60, 90, and then the work began because the first 2 weeks or week and a half was just basic onboarding. Do I get vacation? You know,
So at this point, do you feel like, so come August, do you feel like you're kind of, on track for your goals for the 30, 60, 90? Or,
I mean, yes, the 30, 60, 90 is a plan for research and going forward. And developing the plan how we're moving forward in the future. So that includes the new strategic plan, that includes, you know, staff hiring, the budget, changes in the budget. It was a difficult thing to learn because of the way the budget is written. So getting those, if it takes 100 days instead of 90 to get all the answers that I need to get accurately, that's less important than the quality of the work that I'm doing and what I present to you of what I know in the library and what we can do working forward in the future. And that's the rest of the one-year working plan, which leads up to a strategic plan. You know, most directors don't come in right before end of year and then are tasked with writing a strategic plan about an organization they don't know anything about. So it's very important that I do this research, that I come up with a budget that works and learn the constraints of the budgeting within the county, learn the constraints of staffing with current staff needs looking forward and with the county to make sure that this is done in the way that best serves the library and best serves the community. I always say that the library, we don't improve the library to have a better library. We improve the library to increase community success. And I could give you a sum up today of what I think I will learn from the 30, 60, 90. Does that translate into a new strategic plan and an accurate view for the budget and staffing? It does not. It is about gathering the information, and if the new superintendent, we have a brand new superintendent, if they can't meet with me until, 2 weeks after the end of the 90 days, and that's the answer I get from them, that means that part will be delayed. But the general 30, 60-day plan of research, reorganization, and ideas of how we need to restructure. I mean, there are some things that I could tell in a week what needed to be done, that there was limited strategic planning, and as the staff said, planning has been a luxury. So it's, like I said, I act from knowledge, and I need that intimate knowledge of a budget that is not yet totally clear to me. And my budget won't be introduced until 28. This year's budget is still based on the previous budget. And interestingly, for example, in the budget, we had an expansion fund that was funded from the stuff from the vote that disappeared. So that funding was not put into budget lines. It was all put into one account, 13360. I'll always remember that number. So we still have dual budgets. We have the 130 budget, which is our original general budget without changes. And then we have the 13360, which is where they transferred the money instead of putting into the budget lines. So when you look at the budget, you're looking at two separate figures so people can put money in both areas. And that's not an accurate way to have two lines, say, for technology and two separate lines for something else. And you have to add them up, and people take the money from each category without being sure which one it should go into. So correcting these things and coming up with what is actually spent is difficult because there are no historical records for how much has been spent in different areas. And so I have to cull that information from resources to figure out, you base your budget based on, you look at what your expenses were in the previous year. And I want to make sure that's accurate so that we're doing the 27 budget correctly and that the 28 budget really reflects what our purchasing needs are and the lines are designated for that. So I need to do a good job. So I mean, the 30, 60, 90 is an artificial construct that's given to every department head across the country. And that's why I said 60 and 90 kind of got melded together because I had to learn so much about the budget in the 60 and I had put that in the 90. So instead I learned more about the budget, and less about community, stuff this month. So getting the most accurate details for you that lead into the rest of the one-year working plan and debut into a good strategic plan. And we've been without a strategic plan, and staff has still been using the previous one, but we've started to look at the ways that our new goals that we're discovering together. I like to work in a very participatory manner with staff. I run budget decisions by them and service decisions by them. And because they're very knowledgeable of the system, they're able to educate me on a lot as well. So the 30, 60, 90, like I said, artificial construct, I'm working within it to give the best evaluation of the system. But the main plan is going to be enacted in the strategic plan when that's decided. But there are initiatives that we are moving forward with already that will be in the strategic plan. We're not waiting, but the strategic plan has to have that community input. So I want to give you all the information I can. I will have a report on what I've learned over at the 90 days and what we've accomplished. And we've actually accomplished quite a bit. You know, for example, I have to learn things, you know, we're having a meeting about taking the money from the 27 budget and what does that mean to take a large amount from the Friends budget. So I have a meeting tomorrow with those people by the morning so we can get the good pricing that we got at end of year. So I pride myself in the quality of my work and I want to give you a quality product. So you will have a very detailed 30, 60, 90 report, but not overbearing. But I've been giving you some of the information as we go along. And I want to show you the best of our system and what needs to be changed from that report.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions from the trustees? All right, we'll move on to item 2B, the brief branch report presented by Amanda McPhail from Incline. Welcome.
And I do want to mention while she's getting her mic on, I asked them to do something slightly different than they did in the past. We were looking at specific examples and general information about how each branch is succeeding strategically, as opposed to a list of events, which doesn't really show you a lot.
Well, I hope I've met expectations.
You're the first one
I'm
to
the
do
first
it.
one, so here we go.
And there was no outline, so I will be thrilled with whatever it is.
Well, thank you. My name is Amanda McPhail. I am the branch manager at the Incline Village Library. Thank you, trustees, for carving out a little niche for me in the agenda, since I didn't get a chance to present last month when we were up in Incline. So Incline Village Library. So I've been with the library system and in Incline Village for the past 12 years. And I will be honest and have to say that these last 12 years, I have not seen more change than I've seen in these last 12 years, branch level and system wide. So this last year, we have had a new branch manager, that's me. We have a brand new librarian. We have 2 new library assistant 2s. We have a new library assistant 3, and we have 1 library aide that will begin middle of next month. So out of a staff of 9, we've had 6 turnovers. So we're all learning about each other. It's been a great experience. So like I mentioned, we are a staff of 9. We are one of the smallest, we are the smallest staff-wise of all of the branches. And so then those 6 new positions within this last year being filled. In all honesty, this last year was a tread water, keep our doors open. It was a difficult year. We had long-term illnesses amongst staff. We had staff surgeries. We've had deaths in families with staff. So, and we managed to stay open for 6 days. We managed to be open 6 days most of the year. So it was a heavy lift for us, but we did it. And we are a better team for it. And so kind of what we've been, so despite all that, I do have good news. So what we've been up to in the last year, I did bring my slides, good thing, because I cannot read that. So some stats for you. I kind of love stats. So Incline Village Branch, we greeted over 96,605 patrons this past year. We represented the library and promoted library services at 16 community fairs, schools, and outreaches, making connections with over 764 people. We participated as staff in over 119 hours of staff training. We hosted 353 programs and events with over 5,287 in attendance. We provided reference services to 11,761 people. That's with the staff of 9. We signed up 764 people for brand new library cards this past year. And our highest year, we circulated 41,789 items. That was an uptick from last year. And we provided meeting room space to 4,492 people and organizations within our Incline Village community. So we did have a great year. All right. So despite what we went through last year, we managed to develop a variety of programs and events that enrich our community through various creative and intellectual outlets and throughout community partnerships. So if you don't mind me taking a few minutes, I will try to be as brief as I can because I know we're limited on time, but I do want to brag on the staff of Incline Village and the hard work that they put into these programs. I've divided it up. I don't have very many slides, but I have a kids program, teens and tweens, and adults, and then kind of where we're going in the future. So this first slide, can we make that bigger? Is that as good as we get? All right. That's it. It's not you. Next time I'll remember to put one picture on one slide. So this year, this past year, we have had some of our largest story times ever since I've been there in 12 years. So in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see one of our story times in our children's area. That story time has 63 people, 63 in attendance. And at the beginning, like spring of last year, we had 52, and I thought, oh my word, how are we going to fit any more people in this area? And then like last month, we had 63. That was our largest attended. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a bunch of kids at our 2-day STEAM camp. So we have 2 staff members that help develop this program where kids learn STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So down here, they are creating art bots. They use small little motors and engineered pens, markers, crayons, learn balance and engineering on creating little bots that created really cool art. They vibrated across the table and the kids loved them. During that 2-day program, they also raced balloon cars and learned about thrust power and aerodynamics and the chemical reactions which make elephant toothpaste. Don't ask me what that is. I have no idea, but it is some sort of chemical reaction and the kids love it. In the upper right-hand corner, we see a bunch of students. These are students from Lake Tahoe Schools, which is a private school in Incline Village, and Incline Elementary School, which is our public school up there. We have created a program. It's a book group called Incline to Read, where we host 1 book each semester, and we incorporate both schools. So these schools come together, and like homeschoolers will also participate. So it's a community read, basically. And these kids come together once a semester and do a book group, but instead of sitting around and asking questions about the book, we create different pods of STEAM activities based on the book. So last year we did Frindle, and then the food group series by John Jory. And so in the Frindle one, they had like a Frindle trivia section, a dictionary tower, and then they actually made a Frindle. There's also a readings circle. And then for the food group, they did like a bad seed, cool bean art and a bad egg balance tower. So just allows students that would not generally mix to create bonds and personal relationships and friendships through that program. And then we did the One and Only Ivan series about 2 years ago, and Catherine Applegate, the author, actually recorded a video for the students, and we were able to present that to them, so they thought that was really cool. Lower right hand is just a photo of a presentation at the Incline Elementary School. Because of these partnerships, they invite us every year to do an assembly, and so we have 2 staff members there presenting to the entire elementary school, promoting our summer reading program and our annual block party that we have every summer. All right, slide 3. Focusing on our teens and tweens. So again, building those partnerships with the schools is very important to us. In the upper right left-hand corner, you'll see Mr. Dominguez up there. He's the AP art teacher for Incline High School. Incline High School has a standing reservation with us to show in our gallery every March and April. So the students bring in the art that they've created. It's a wonderful display. It's probably it is one of my favorites of the entire year. The students go around the library and they work on their oral presentation skills. Should probably go and work on mine with them. Anyhow, they talk about their art, what has inspired them. I mean, sometimes it's tear jerkers. These kids really pour their heart and soul into their art, and listening to them describe it and what helps them and makes them create is just wonderful feelings. Again, the upper right hand is our prom shop. We partner with all 5 of our resale thrift shops in Incline Village. Yes, there's 5 in that small little town. And they curate and hold prom accessories and formal attire for us. We work with the high school and we put on a prom shop in our meeting room, and guys and gals can come and pick out prom attire for free. And they absolutely love it. And there's a gal picking out her prom dress. Down the 2 pictures at the bottom are working with Incline Middle School. The one on the left is a group of students from Incline Middle School 6th graders. They were approached by a local author who is writing a picture book about a lost dog that was found in Carson City. But she wanted to get the advice and work with the middle school students on how to write and illustrate that book. So they created a group. We were contacted and asked if they could come and look at picture books and understand what goes into picture books. So we took 20 minutes with the kids, went through the different picture books, different illustrations, let them know what kind of awards picture books, are awarded. A lot of them had no idea that Polar Express and Jumanji were actually picture books in some of their favorite movies. So they thought that was pretty cool. The lower right is Incline Middle School's new exploratory program. Chair Ruff, you may have heard about this. It is a new thing that the 2nd year, I believe, that Incline Middle School has done this, where they take students and they place them in, or they provide like a classroom experience, but these students go outside of the classroom. So there are students who've gone to Incline Bowl and they work with that small business owner. They learn what goes into a small business, how to run a small business, the finances. So it gives them just this opportunity to learn outside of the classroom. Some of them have gone on mountain biking, and it's a 9-week course that they go through, mountain biking. So learning how a mountain bike is constructed, the difference between that and a road bike, learning trail preservation and conservation. So it's a great program. We were approached at the library and said, hey, would you guys like to do a 9-week course with these students? And I said, oh my word, we have no staff. How are we going to do this? But how can we not have a captive audience of 7 to 10 middle schoolers in the library every single week for 9 weeks. So we made it work. And one of our staff members created a curriculum. They learned about the library services and little areas in the library that serve them. They learned creative writing skills. One of our staff members also came up and did a special presentation on how to edit papers. So they really had a great time with that class. It was so successful that they've asked us to do it again, and we'll be doing that in the winter semester coming up. Slide 4 is all about adults. So a lot of times older adults get left out, and we wanted to make sure that didn't happen at Incline Village. It's one of our largest demographics. In fact, 41.5% of our program attendance is adults and seniors. Comparatively, our kids' age groups for program attendance is about 50%. So it's a great way to get folks out to socialize and give them creative outlets. So the upper left-hand is folks taking our watercolor series. It was a 3-month series back in the fall. We had full registrations each and every time. And we often get asked to bring that program back. The upper right-hand corner is an adult sewing class. So Robin Barnett, she's in the middle there. She usually teaches a kids sewing class. And we had adults asking, can you please have an adult sewing class? We would love to learn how to sew. So they learned basic machine skills and hand sewing skills. They loved it. The bottom left is kind of hard to see, but it's one of our newest programs, our felting program, needle wool felting. Oh my word, these ladies absolutely love this group. We have a core group that come we host it twice a month. They come twice a month. They want it 4 times a month. But we started with, you know what? None of us know how to needle felt. We gave that disclaimer. We showed some how-to videos at the first couple of classes. And these ladies have become experts. They make the cutest, most adorable little felt thingamajigs. And they love it. They've connected. They've have grown friendships, and it's just fun to watch them interact. Lower right is our Wind Down Wednesday program, again geared towards older adults, more of a crafting program. Here they're making really cool decorative catch-all puzzle bowls. We get a lot of donated puzzles that are missing pieces, and so that's what they're doing here. And they love it. We offer it twice a month. They want it 4 times a month. Slide 5 is where we're going. So based on feedback and seeing a lot of babies in our story times and being approached by several parents asking, do you have any programs for babies? It's like, shoot, we don't, but we can get one. So we are going to start a baby social in the fall and a crafternoon in the wintertime, and that will be focused on kids ages 6 to 11. We really don't have a program geared towards that age group, so we're looking forward to those 2 programs. Another big thing for us is keeping our partnerships and relationships that we've made up there in Incline. I say that's one of my favorite things about working at that branch is we really are, our librarians are embedded in that community, and we want to keep it that way. So having great relationships with the schools, with IVGID, which is Incline Village General Improvement District, IBCBA, which is our business association up there. So these are relationships that we really value and we pour a lot into. We give to them, they give to us. It's a wonderful relationship. You might be wondering why I have a grand opening clipping of the Incline Village Library back in 2005. 21 years ago. So you'll see the grass behind, this is actually a view of the back of the library. So my pie in the sky idea, what I would love to do is to create a park-like area in the back of our library. Incline Village has 1 park and it is hard to get to. It's not walkable. You have to have a car and drive there and cross a very busy street. There is a pathway right in front of that grassy area where tons of folks walk into the downtown area of Incline Village. So creating a park-like setting would be wonderful for our overflow of those kids in story time to go out and give them a nice space to play. I envision a storytime amphitheater out there I envision a sound garden out there, paths, walking paths and seating. And informative pieces about the history of Lake Tahoe and informative pieces on the history and culture of the Washoe people. So that's my vision. That's where I'm headed. So we'll see. If next year I bring to you grass, we'll see. Who knows? This is my first time. Do I ask for questions? Do you have questions?
I just wanted to thank you so much for your report. And I love seeing the information, both qualitative, quantitative, of what you all, the 9 of you, have been able to do up there. Appreciate all of the efforts you put into that community. And I have to say, we had a family member that had a home up there at one point, and even my children used the library up there when we would be up visiting family. And it's always been a wonderful place. It's so unique.
Thank you.
In that area. So thank you so much. And your staff, please let them know as well. And I don't know if there's anything else from other trustees.
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful presentation. It's been a while since I've been up there to visit the branch, but I did start scheduling visits again for this month and look forward to getting up there again. I'm very interested in your ideas for something outdoors. I just visited one of the Boys and Girls Club and had a tour, and they have a little outside stage theater area. So the minute you said that, I'm like, oh, I could see that
It'd
happening.
be wonderful.
So yes,
Yes.
so I would love to explore that. So
Thank you.
when I get up there, I would love for you to show me what you have in mind.
Excellent.
This thing's a feel-good project. All of these things just make you feel good about being at the library. The community, school systems being involved with the community as well. I think this is what the library is about more than anything. It's about, you know, how you feel when you walk into the library, how the community interacts with staff. And I think this is beautiful. And our elderly love puzzles as
Thank
well.
you.
And I think more of this will be awesome. For real.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I'm new. Okay. Thank you so much for your presentation. I love data. So, wow, you guys have done so much with such few staff. Yeah, I just think you guys are amazing, and what creative programs you're offering up there. I would love for your vision to come to, yeah. Is it the Parasol Foundation?
They're now Tahoe Community Foundation.
Okay.
TCF, yeah.
Would they be willing to maybe fund?
I have some.
You got
thoughts, yeah.
something in the works. Okay, well, good. I'll be sending you good thoughts for that. So
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Yes, please. All right. And next we have item 2C, which is the branch report presented by Jennifer Cole, who's the librarian acting South Valley's branch manager.
Oop. I'm new too. Sorry, one second. Okay, put it on there. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Thank you. Yes, hi, Jennifer Cole for the record. I'm the acting branch manager here at South Valleys. You'll see what happens when you don't give us an outline, that you'll see vastly different approaches to the way these reports are presented, and no data. Andy, sorry. So we were sort of tasked with keeping our reports pretty short, and with a super active, busy branch, I had a really hard time deciding which programs to feature. So I decided to feature one that is a great example of the work that we've done. It's been over 2 years since I've given any of us have given a report from South Valleys. So there's way too much for us to recap. So if you'll indulge me, I would like to talk a little bit about our Mahjong program. So that's okay. So that is a picture of our American Mahjong group that has been meeting here regularly. In late 2024, our regular patron, Patty, in the red jacket in front, came to us with a proposal for an American Mahjong program. She offered to lead the program and teach others how to play. She assured us that she already knew some folks who would come. And so we did a little research and we found out Mahjong is really having a moment. Like it is really having like a cultural resurgence and a pop cultural resurgence for all ages. So we decided it was worth a try. We already had game tables that our bridge group used, so we didn't have to invest in much. We had to buy a few Mahjong sets, and since it's American Mahjong, a new card comes out every year, and so that's the expense. But all of that stuff is reusable for a whole entire year, so pretty low budget. And we're always looking for that special thing to engage adult patrons. At our branch, toddlers, no problem. We could have toddler story time 5 times a day, 5 days a week, and probably fill each and every one of those if we had capacity to do that. But adult programs are historically challenging and can take years to build reliable audiences, as any library employee will attest. Adults are the challenge. Have any of you played tabletop Mahjong before? So yeah, so it's really challenging, right? Yeah, it's challenging to learn. So it's great that we have these volunteers to be able to teach the group. I've heard the strategy of Mahjong described as setting yourself up to be lucky. And the same can be said for planning library events. You develop a program based on library resources and community needs, and with a little luck, patrons respond. So we feel really lucky with this program. We started with a once a month program in March of 2025 and knew pretty much right away that we needed to expand it. By September, we were running Mahjong every Monday, and by January, we had to start enforcing registration because the demand was too high for us to accommodate with our space and resources. Now 2 additional branches plan to launch Mahjong programs in the near future. And we are sharing our successes and doing our best to fill a demonstrated need across our community and across the library system. Go ahead to the next slide if you would, Sierra. On these slides, I won't read them out loud, but there are quotes from some of our Mahjong group about how much they enjoy coming here. And they will speak to my next point, which is studies have found that social isolation in older adults is associated with an increased risk of developing dementia, coronary artery disease or stroke, and an increase in mortality by any cause. Playing Mahjong has been found to enhance general cognitive abilities and short-term memory and relieve symptoms of depression. Plus, it's fun and a great way to meet people and establish relationships. This is not strictly a senior program, but that is the primary audience that it is drawing, and it fits nicely with our lifelong learning strategic goal. You can go to the next slide. An added benefit for us is that we have seen an increase in attendance at other adult-focused programs in our branch, like Yarn Crew, Time Out Tuesday, Bridge, Book Club, and our quarterly film series. All of those programs were doing just fine before Mahjong, but now we're seeing crossover audiences with some patrons visiting our branch many times a month, exchanging phone numbers and making plans with the friends that they meet here. They're learning new skills and they're building a community based around our library programs. As everybody was coming in, actually, there were 2 tables of people playing Mahjong in the fireside. They borrowed our sets and they came on their own. So it was a totally, not spontaneous, they planned it, but they came to the library and just used the library's space to continue that community that they have established. I wanted to give a special thank you to our wonderful Mahjong teaching volunteers, Patty, Sally, and Carol, and to our staff lead, Nathani Clancy, who has spent a ton of time passing on the things that she has learned about running this program to other staff around the system. We will never stop entertaining and educating those toddlers, but it is a real success to build a beloved adult program during a time when our resources were strained and uncertain. So again, we do feel very lucky. While Mahjong serves as an example of a recent success, it is of course just one of the many dozens of programs that we do every week. And we are so proud of all of them. I wish I could tell you about every single one, but our staff works incredibly hard every day to creatively meet the needs of our diverse community. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for presenting that. And you're right, Mahjong is having a moment. And I love how your success has shared like a best practice then for the 2 other branches that are planning to do this as well. So that's wonderful. Thank you and your staff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anyone else?
And welcome to South Valleys, everybody. I forgot to say that.
No, I did have an opportunity to play it once. I lost. I, but I do know, like, yeah, almost every other person I know does play it. And I was actually at an event that had nothing to do with board games or table games, but it was after the conference that I was at. It was like, let's go back to the room and play this game. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And that was my one experience with it. So
Fun.
thanks for having that space for our community.
Thank you.
Did your staff already know how to play Mahjong?
No, so
learned?
Nathani learned, and she actually has a group that meets at her house now on the weekends. So she,
Okay.
and my plan was to be her backup, but I have never been able to find the time to go in and learn. But we do always have to have a staff member in the room, but we don't always have to play. We can just be in there for any questions and, you know, break up the fist fights, but.
It seems like the South Valleys have started the Mahjong Mafia. South Valleys already. And the way you wrapped in the cognitive portion of that, I think is very important to exercise the brain as you get older. Absolutely. And this looks like a brain exercise. Seriously, is this Asian culture? game?
Yeah, yes. American Mahjong was brought to the US and was largely played by the Jewish community, like in the 1940s. And so it's slightly different. It has a card that is updated every year that has different hands, but it is directly derived from the Asian versions.
Great job. Great job.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Even without data, I love this. Who knew? Yeah, I get frustrated at Wordle, so I'm not going to tackle this, but thank you very much to you. and
They
your
have so
team.
much patience. They will teach you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Chair Ruff, for the record, we'll move on to item 2D, the Northwest renovation brief branch report, how that renovation up in the Northwest is going. Is that you, Lisa, or is that, don't know who that is. Oh, that's all right.
I'm sorry, I had a printout and I been on how things were moving forward, and neglected to bring it. Just, there's been, you know, extension after extension. We're hoping for a September 1st or opening before Labor Day. There were a lot of changes and what had to be done, and the staff have been zealously guarding our books and materials, you know, from saving them from dust and water, and construction, and sorry.
It's also, if I correct, it's Chair Ruff, for the record, it's HVAC and roofing.
Yes,
Yes.
but it impacts all the collections had to be safely covered, and different things moved. And I know that the branch manager is constantly checking with the our service provider on how everything is going. It's our exact date is not determined yet, but hopefully the date is September 1st.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll go ahead and move on to 2E, the education segment for a brief library staffing report.
No, let me put you- Here we are. We're at the education segment.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna try and cut down on this to make sure that I can get through everything. Everybody can hear me okay? Okay. Brief history of librarianship. And I'll tell you why I need to let you know about this. So early in our country, libraries have been in our country before there was a Declaration of Independence. They've been around. A lot of them developed as subscription services. The big shift came in 1876, where Melvin Dewey, you know his name from the Dewey Decimal System, and others founded the American Library Association in 1876. Right when libraries were proliferating, so we have one of the oldest professional organizations around. And he founded two things. So they founded the American Library Association. So they came up with a bunch of a professional description and a mission, that it wasn't just a bunch of people taking care of books and museums and things. Melvin also worked on the School of Library Economy at Columbia College in New York. And these things, two things, determine the focus of the profession and professional ideals. Interesting thing, Melvin Dewey, he would come in to review into meetings. He had like Dewey's Ladies. And if you've ever seen the movie Catch Me If You Can, when the character walks in with the flight attendants, I always picture it like that. Because he would come in, comes in the movie flanked by his stewardesses all dressed nice. Dewey did the same thing. Interesting note, Dewey developed the first broad accepted classification process for books in the Dewey Decimal System. Every library had its own classification system before that. One of the earliest at the British Museum, their classification system, they had the busts of emperors and the top of each of the line of library book stacks. And so they were named Julius Caesar, 4-8. So you would go to the Julius Caesar bust, and then you could find your books from there. So library as a profession has grown and flourished and then declined and flourished. It started as a male profession and quickly started leaning towards a female profession. And the men decried it as the end of libraries when women came into libraries, but that was not the case. So it's fluctuated. Historically now, it's a female position. It's been a historically female position. It's not now. We have, a mix of everyone from different types of life and everything and staffing. But what's really changed is the libraries themselves and the qualifications of that staff. In that our definition of information literacy has changed from the ability to find, review, authority, and use, information. Now it's share, collaborate, share across platforms, create new information from that information, share it collaboratively, and it is expanded to so much information. Librarians' role has changed incredibly over the years. With a historically female population, so many people think that the library is a repository for books. But that used to be the case. It is no longer. It's now a community center that serves the social service needs, job needs, engagement and recreation needs, technology needs, and with it, that each type of staff person has evolved. And the days where one person can know how to use the computers, you always had the teen librarian with a little bit of purple hair run up and set up the equipment because nobody else knew how to use the computer. Now, all librarians are expected to be data navigators. So this role has expanded exponentially, and the type of people you have on staff to create this and to deliver community outcomes to the public has expanded. But so many people see the library as it was in the past at the book repository. I think I might have mentioned in a different meeting that 90% of libraries had ebooks. At a certain point when we were getting ebooks, 90% of libraries, only 10% of citizens knew that their libraries had ebooks. So often decision makers still think of the library as that book repository. You meet with educators and like, oh, you have databases too. You have access to research. You have these technologies. And like I said, these are teachers and people in the school system who you would think would be knowledgeable about libraries. So this causes a problem in understanding. And you have a schism when people think, oh, all you need is someone to check out a book. And then the reality of what it takes to run a system that has a variety of community services, digital support services, and a variety of services across the country. Libraries manage citizenship classes, literacy, helping parents become their child's first best teacher, helping small businesses look at their investments with our investments, materials, and all of those things need staff. KLA just put out their annual staffing survey. Salaries for library directors and beginning librarians are not keeping pace with inflation. If you look across the country, you'll see in county or municipal positions that other positions are much higher ranked, and library positions, they believe it can be a lower ranking. So as technologies change, especially, what was asked of the library several years ago in a recession was, what was the minimum money and staff that it could be to be open the maximum number of hours, because they wanted the public to be able to access that. So that was reported and what we were changed to. We've gotten staff, but not anywhere near the staff that we had before. And that's just the realities of recession, not a problem, not an issue of people withholding money. And often decision makers don't understand the roles of staff and what it takes. our staff is working in a difficult environment. They rely on each other and they take on extra roles and to make up for what we don't have. Our current vacancies, a couple library aides, which are 15-hour positions, a couple libraries, like 3 library assistant twos, a librarian, a program coordinator, branch manager. And they're like, well, you've got vacancies. You can build your staff from that. But we're still working on the model of maximum hours with minimal staff, which goes back again to the book repository concept. And a lot of people in decision-making may not understand all of those roles. When we look at the strategic gap analysis of staffing, where we are and where we want to be. Where we want to be is that the staff provides all resources and assistance and support in their branches to deliver community success, academically, professionally, economically, recreationally, healthily, environmentally, politically, and more. Did I say economically? I forget that one a lot. And what the reality is, we can only meet part of that mission. We have staff shortages every single day because the staff are scheduled to exactly fit the needs of keeping the doors open. But you've got programming, staff take on extra roles, and a variety of issues. Sorry, just trying to look at my notes. In determining staff roles, we, like I said, the idea is, oh, as long as you have people at the circulation desk or the checkout desk, you're fine. But that doesn't deliver a library today. We have to look at, how stretched our staff is. And today we had 2 urgent staffing requests. So if you're scheduled at the minimum, if someone's sick, if someone has to go meet with a partner, or you don't have a person hired, you will be missing staff very often. Like I said, it comes out urging staffing request, and all the other branch managers look at that and let other branches borrow staff if they have one more than the very minimum, which is not ideal. We have staff transferring back and forth every single day. And then we have requests on something like Incline Village, and someone lives by their North Valley's branch, and you're like, that doesn't work. The financial impact is huge. Salaries go up every year, and budgets stay flat. Luckily, the county, there's a lovely good fact about the county, they keep us whole. So while we had a flat budget, they increased enough for the staff to get their merit and COLA things. Thank you. I love it when people jump in where I'm missing. But we can't get additional funds. I wanted to go over, so a typical library has several elements of staffing. We have the public facing staff, which is what everyone thinks of as librarians, where most of that is clerical and library assistants, though they're extremely well trained and they do more than any library assistants that I know of at any other system. We have our branch managers, which keep the branches going and try to forward a strategic plan for what that branch should provide to that community in order to give them success. And we have support services, which is our admin team, which sounds like they do administrative work, like they all are sitting there typing. That's collections, internet, technology, and marketing. And those people have very few staff to assist in there. And that's what we have. What others have that we don't, and what I want to build is a senior team that drives strategic planning and long-term planning, so that we have constant forward motion and positive long-term planning, and we can figure out those 3, 5, 10, 20-year requirements. What I determine as my immediate needs is a fiscal manager to be over the clerical staff that we have managing purchasing at our library. We do have a lovely, Gohar, lovely fiscal agent at the county. But they're with she's with the county. So I would like a fiscal manager, a programs projects and partnership manager to drive the direction of our programming and meeting our strategic goals to deliver success to every community member. We desperately need an outreach coordinator. This is one of those jobs that a branch manager has. They've taken on, just decided we need outreach. So they took on the role and they deliver outreach to the entire community. Okay. And that takes staff away from that. So there is no person planning and assigning outreach. That's all done by staff working together and one branch manager. We needed grants and development coordinator. And below that, we need, a youth services position, adult services position. It'd be great to have, an innovation manager and stuff like that they have across the country. A lot of other libraries, like I said, have innovation managers, DEI managers, partnership managers, development managers, that we don't. And there are some branches, are branches that have staff out 3 days a week doing something that would on another library be managed by an outreach team. So if you're doing system-wide outreach and you're a branch manager, that takes away your staff. I want to give you an example of a library and see where you see the difference. Hartford Public Library, which was my first senior management position, their leadership, they're a library with 9 branches. 2 of them are joint service branches with schools, like we have, though they have more hours. So we have, so Hartford has 7 standard branches and 2 partnership branches. We have 8 standard branches and 4 partnership libraries. Hartford also has, other than their president CEO, a director of human resources, a chief administrative officer, a director of development, a chief operating officer, a chief advancement officer, an executive director of the American Place, which is they're very high in immigrants and refugees. So immigrants and refugees can walk in fresh off, the plane and learn how to become a citizen, take those classes, get resources, be matched with American Place guides for helping them navigate the system. So these are all the types of positions they have. Their list of donors, because they have a director of development, their list of donors is 8 pages long in about a 9-point font. And the starting categories are with several people giving money, $1 million and above, $500,000 to $1 million, and going down with donors at every single level. So that's what a director of development does. Our Marcom, marketing communications director, was 2 positions were absorbed into one because of a lack of funds for the other position after they retired. And they, just to do the marketing takes up so much of their time. It really should still be 2 positions, because with the time that person has left over for development, we would have a 1-page list compared to the 8-page list, and smaller donations. So you say, how do they do this team? They must have a lot more money. Their total revenue is $13,669,669. And they've got a full executive team, those branches, all set. They do have lower salary costs, but say the 4 million takes care of that. How do we get there? My issue is, as a director, I cannot say this is the team I want, approach them with a financial plan and have that approved. Each position that I want, I would have to scavenge from vacancies, which are desperately needed. That list of vacancies I told you, combining them to hire my 2 staff. But these are the vacancies for the barely staffed branches. So it's hard to say, you get a comment, well, take 2 library aides, 2 library assistant 2s, and half a branch manager, and create your fiscal manager. Well, that doesn't work because of vitally needed positions. And this is because of like a staff loss. It's not like we thought, oh, you need less people. And that's why they don't have the position filled. And I'm going as fast as I can. This is an important issue. When I apply for those positions, it will be adjudicated by the county, and they will determine the level of the person I hire, whether it's more of a managerial level or a support person. Like I said, our entire financial team was clerical staff who had only worked in typing up stuff in previous positions. So I can look at my financials, even if I have the money and I support and I bring a slate, I will get what the county deems I should get. Plus in the differential in pay, you have to add an additional 30% to make sure you have the money for that person. So if you're combining positions that add up to 60,000 and that person needs, 100,000, that 40,000 difference, that $40,000 difference, you need 130% of that salary to move that position forward. And we can still get notice that that is not what we're going to get. And the suggestion was made to me today that to get a fiscal manager and a programs, projects and partnerships manager that is really pushing forward strategic planning, I should consider not hiring an assistant director who manages all the branch issues and staffing. Where if I had to find substitutes every day, I would not be able to do anything. So the assistant director handles all discipline as well. So I would have to give up an assistant director currently to try, and several of these staff positions that I told you about, to get the positions I need. So I need to look at, part of the analysis is, how does Hartford have a full executive team and then a layer of middle managers, which is adult youth? They have a history center with historical stuff that gives programs. The American Place, they have all kinds of collections. They have a digitization lab, a series of studios at the branches and a large one at the main branch. I have to see how they're doing it, and work with the information that I have on the budget, like I said, which is very limited because it's hard to tell how the money is spent. And the limited amount of positions that I can work with, all of which are necessary to keep the libraries from having to close because they've only got one person, or they don't have a supervisor available on the weekend. So this is the situation that I'm working on. So the branch managers are already a huge help in strategic planning, but their job is to run good branches, not to run an outreach program or to manage the intricacies of scheduling partner, meetings at a system-wide level. And they do a marvelous job at doing all these tasks right now, but they see it in being, with the staff limitations, with people absent, they're like Kristen, always working the desk. So that's very hard to do. And they're packing the homebound packages instead of an outreach coordinator and getting those things out and getting our bookmobile stops organized. So this is the situation we're working with. Having to think how a couple 15-hour position is going to turn into a fiscal manager when taking those library aid positions away means they don't have enough people on the desk on the weekend. It's a difficult situation, and because the finances are unclear and the county makes a lot of the decisions, it's going to be a lot of research into how we solve this need. But the staff are at minimum, so I have to look at, take a fresh look at hours and staffing, because with a forecast of possibly going into a deficit in the county in 5 years, it's not likely to change, and our position level isn't going to change. So how we deliver services, going from that repository model to a full service community service library that helps people with their technology, that makes sure people get books at home if they're homebound, and gives me positions where I'm not the only one that's looking at system-wide forecasting and moving forward. Though, for example, I get a lot of information from Debbie, who's in collection development, and her role is to manage collection development, but her role expands more. John Andrews, who does internet services, is kind of the library historian So whenever I need background on how money has been spent or how positions have gone over time, I go to him, the internet services person, for that information. So building the staff that helps us, I mean, we can be an award-winning library. We have the talented staff to do that. So it's balancing the funding, the hours, and the ability of the county to help us. And it's not like they want to deny everybody more money going into coming years. It's a difficult proposition from the lowest position to the highest position in the county on how this will be managed. But this is the reality of staffing in the libraries and how we manage to become that award-winning library that I know we can be. And like I said, we're already doing great things. We don't even have time to apply for the awards to show it off. So usually a marketing and development team would handle that, and we have just Jamie. So when I worked in other libraries, you remember in my resume, I had showed all those awards and things that my projects got. That's because the marketing team had a person who would apply for those awards for me. So the staffing issue is a big one when it comes to the future of the library. And I have to give all the kudos in the world to the existing staff who are taking on roles where branch managers should be looking at what will make their branch shine. They're looking every day at how do we stay staffed that day. And the only way to get system-wide positions, which are part of that strategic long-range planning, is to take positions from libraries, so they might not be able to be open as much. So this was, I mean, it's a longer report, and I can say I might have lost some people with that, but this is an urgent situation for us. And we want to deliver community success in all the ways that I've spoken about. And our staff has the capacity and the knowledge to do that. Every time I ask about something, do you guys know about that? It's a yes, of course, we've already implemented it. And like, we know what our technology needs are if we could fund them appropriately. And I need to turn operational expenses. The branches have expenses, and those are all mostly solved by Friends funds, when operational expenses should be serviced by the operating budget. And gifts funds are used for renovation and expansion. And so the staff see a big zero when it comes to operational funds for running branch services. And that's an awkward thing when you have zeros on your budget, which are funds that people need. And the staff need to use in order to do their jobs. Like I said, they do them admirably, but they are overtasked. And when you're overtasked, it's hard to think ahead. So that's my factual, but like I said, I like to give the facts and keep you aware, so you understand what our staff is going through, and you can be a good advocate to the Board of County Commissioners when it comes to looking at what we do and what the reality of what our staff has to do compared to, they think that there's just a couple of people at the desk. They stamp your book the old-fashioned way with your card and you go off. That's not what our staff does, but our funding and staffing roles still reflect that book repository type of system. So that was the longer version of staffing in the 30, 60, 90. It takes time to find these things out. And I didn't even know for several weeks that I had to apply to get my positions and that it was a yes, no, or it could be decided for you. So anyways, winding up my long thing, but this is something that has to be discussed openly, so we can find solutions together.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from trustees or can we move on? Going to make, for the record, trustee Tavener, I'll make it really quick because I know this meeting's running a little long. Any above base requests should be submitted for this next fiscal year budget cycle. It's very difficult to get any positions reclassed or changed once the Board of County Commissioners has approved the next year's budget. And I just want to make sure that any changes to current staffing needs is brought to the board prior.
Right.
Okay.
And they will be, but we are told that they will not be expanding our FTE, and that could last into 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chair Ruff for the record, and we're going to move to public comment. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, and we have Laura Wetherington, apologies.
Hey, Laura Wetherington for the record. I just want to welcome the new trustees and welcome the extant trustees in your new positions. I am really thankful for last month's meeting where you put DA Kaplan on the agenda to talk about the ethics. And so I'm here to talk about the bylaws. There are two things that I want to ask you all to do, because I understand that in the calendar year, you go over the bylaws once. And I think that they were signed by Ann Silver July 30th of last year. So I thought maybe it was going to be on the agenda now, but maybe it's coming. So I'm just going to prime you for this one person's idea. I would like to see you all put the Washoe County Code of Conduct in the bylaws. And the reason for that is because I understood Herb Kaplan, DA Kaplan, to have said that the ethics really only are violated if you personally benefit financially from what you're doing as a board. And I don't think that that's ever going to happen for the library. And so I don't think that having the NRS ethics in your bylaws actually covers what the work that you all are doing. I think the Washoe County Code of Conduct would be better. And I heard a person, so I came up with this because a person last month said, this is what you need to do. You need to adopt it. So I was like, what is that? I went and looked, and I'm going to read you this. It says, persons appointed by the BCC to boards shall exemplify the values and shall adhere to the conduct set forth in this policy and may be removed for failure to do so. This tells me that I think you all are already bound by the Washoe County Code of Conduct pursuant to this, whatever. And so I think it benefits you all to make it transparent in the bylaws. So this is the first ask that I have. The second ask is about, I really appreciate what Director McClure said about trustee training. I think that we're really fortunate to have people on the library board now who have prior library experience, but I don't think that that's always going to be the case. And I think library-specific training is crucial for you all to be able to be successful. And I think it would also cover things like advisory versus governance boards, general expectations, parameters of budget approvals, like setting an agenda, open meeting law, some of the things that you're already getting from the county, but also plus more, right? And I understand that United for Libraries is one way of doing that. I know there are also books that you can read. You know, I know that there's also the Nevada State Libraries has their own online training, and I think that there's a manual associated with that. And so I want to ask you all to, when you look at the bylaws again to commit to doing library trustee specific training. Thank you.
Chair Ruff, for the record, thank you. And next we have Kate Salim. Kate Salim. That's okay. There we go.
Kate Salim for the record. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak tonight. Hello to the OG board and welcome to our new board members. Thrilled to have you and congratulations also to our newly appointed as of yesterday board member. I look forward to seeing her at the upcoming board meetings. A couple of things I wanted to say how wonderful it was to see branch presentations come back. I have missed those. And Incline almost had me in tears a couple times with some of the amazing things. That prom thing is incredible and shows the outreach that county employees can do to our for our community. And I loved it. A couple things. Back in January of 2025, an evaluation document was created by the board for the director, and that was for a 90, 100-day and annual job evaluation. And rather than looking down the road and going, hey, we haven't evaluated anyone yet, I would like the board to agendize that and to do a 90-day evaluation. 5 days from now is the 90 days from when Director McClure started. And that way, we're not in a situation like we were previously, where we're down the road several years and saying we haven't evaluated the individual. I would also like the board to look or to recommend that an assistant director be hired. Director McClure has a lot of wonderful ideas, but I believe she needs additional support to do a lot of those duties. Just to jump back to the job evaluation, I think it'll be helpful for her to understand your expectations. There's 5 members of this board who each have their own unique viewpoints that they're bringing, and I think that will help her bring what you need to hear to the board meetings if she understands what your expectations are of her. So back to the assistant director. We haven't had one in almost a year, and I believe that that job is instrumental in addition to giving staffing. There's other duties that are listed in the job title provided by the county, and it sounds like that's necessary and will enable Director McClure to do additional duties as you are directing her. So thank you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. And next we have Trista Flanagan.
Hello, Krista Flanagan for the record. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I just want to say welcome to our new trustee members and to our OG members as well. We're all really excited. I know there's been a lot of change. The last couple of years have been rough. I think we can safely say that. And so a lot of us are really excited to see positive changes. A lot of us are really excited to see new faces. And I just want to let you guys know that there's a lot of people rooting out here for you. So thanks so much.
Chair Ruff for the record. Anyone else? That was all I had on here. Okay. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is board comments limited to announcements, strategic plan activity, updates or issues proposed for future agendas and our workshops. The one thing I had is we did not get on this agenda to appoint one of the trustees to the Friends of the Washoe County Library Board. So that will be on the next agenda because we did not get them on this one. Anyone else on the board have anything? You know I do.
Vice Chair Rodriguez for the record. Yeah, I think that'd be great, especially since we'll have a complete board next month again. Yeah, as was mentioned by Kate Salim, and I had kind of mentioned it at our last board meeting, I think it might be a good idea if we can get HR in to do a presentation or to address the issue of director evaluation. So we know what our expectations are, what we should be looking for, and what kind of timeline HR wants to set for us for evaluation, so we don't get caught behind as we did last time. So I think we need to reach out to HR for this to see what, so that they can do a presentation for us, maybe.
If I comment. If I may comment, that is already in the works. Dave Solero has been working on that and is going to be bringing it to the board to be instructing to what we're going to look at. And yes, yearly evaluation is really important. A number of our staff have not had yearly evaluations also in a couple of years, so.
So with that being said, DA Kaplan, have they reached out to you, or have they said when they expect to be doing that presentation with us?
Herb Kaplan, for the record, I believe that's going to happen next month. As far as I recall, Dave indicated that it would be in August.
Anyone else comment?
Yeah, I'm not huge. I don't know much about budgets, and I'm sure I'll learn from my partners here. Yeah, you're right. Dewey is definitely done. He's no longer in charge, and I think that we saw here tonight that our libraries are in really good hands. And I think that I'll reiterate. I think that we have to work with the tools that we have before we go out and hire a bunch of buy more tools. I think that we have great people in charge. I think our staff members and community are very active, and I think that we as a whole have to support you, but I think you really have to dip into what we already have and to learn from our staff and community. There's a lot that is very, very prosperous here. I think we already have award-winning libraries. I think our libraries, people come from far and wide to see our libraries. I think that, perhaps you might have to get on that bookmobile too and just see how it works in the community. And I think that a lot of your perspectives will change once you see what's really going on in our community, because this is the base of what we have. And we have a good thing here. And I think if just got to get into the trenches with your soldiers and see what we have. And I think you'll have a little bit of change of mind on how much money we're going to spend on this staff and that staff, because they're already here. We're winners already. Thank you.
If I may comment.
With you. I want you to know, I want you to win. Truly, I really do. So.
Yeah. I mean, and just to comment, like I said, we already have the talented staff. I do know that. But some of these positions are the very basics of what libraries have across the country. Most of them have much more positions in planning. Like if you look at our county structure, you can see all the positions that are for planning across the county. So, I do think we are already, we have a very good library system with what we are able to do currently. So I don't mean to give an impression. I'm just looking at the basics of the very bare bones of what libraries across the countries have to manage libraries that can go beyond because they have the time to go beyond. So no, but your viewpoint is great, and I do recognize what great libraries we have already.
For the record, Trustee Tavener, and I'll try and talk really fast because of the late hour. I would like the bylaws put on the August agenda. One thing that I would like also this board to consider is, according to the bylaws, the chair and vice chair will be selected every June. Typically, the end of June is when terms expire. I'd like that moved. I'd like the board to consider placing that on to a July agenda. The other thing that I wanted to bring out is the bylaws have an order of business to the extent of possible. And I know that the chair works with the director and the DA, but their item number J actually outlines how the agendas should be. And I think for clarity and consistency, most governmental boards, especially those specific to Washoe County, have a certain order. And it's actually outlined in our bylaws. I would like the board to consider going back to that type of outline. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Chair Ruff, for the record, one thing I need to say is, I'm sorry, Sierra, we have been bad about doing that tonight. Each of us saying our names beforehand, so I haven't modeled that well for everyone either, but I know me either, but moving forward, we'll try to do that so it's easier for you to do your minutes. I know, it is. But every time I start to speak, I think, oh goodness, I've forgotten to say that. So apologies, Sierra, for that. Okay, so board comment. All right, moving to item number 5, the approval of the minutes, from the library board meeting on June 17th, 2026, and that is for possible action. I don't know if any of the trustees have any questions or issues or corrections.
I would just like to clarify with Mr. Kaplan, if I'm allowed to vote. I read and it said I could. I just want to make sure from you as the guru that that's okay for me to vote on those, since I was not a trustee at that time.
Herb Kaplan, for the record, yes, you may vote.
Trustee Rodriguez, Vice Chair Rodriguez, for the record, just a comment, and this is also for our minutes today. Generally, on other boards that I've served, the liaison is generally also listed along with the members of the board. And even though I think technically she began her liaison position with this meeting, not last month's meeting, even though she did attend, I noticed that our liaison, Commissioner Hill, was not listed on the minutes, even though she was present. And so I don't know if we need to correct that and make sure that she's included in the future under our members list.
Chair Ruff, for the record, I don't know why I keep picking that up. Chair Ruff, for the record, Dia Kaplan, do you have a thought of that?
Herb Kaplan, for the record, I didn't know that that was a legal question, but yes, that should occur and hopefully in the future will occur.
Okay. So as chair, I would entertain a motion then to include that if we are going to approve the minutes, whomever would like to do that.
Vice Chair Rodriguez, for the record, I would move that we approve the meeting minutes from June with the inclusion of Liaison Hill's presence at the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Trustee Tavener, I'll second it.
Thank you. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. So we have approved the minutes from the June 17th, 2026 meeting with the addition of adding Commissioner Hill as liaison to the minutes. All right, moving on then to item number 6, general business. We have the approval of the library holidays and closures for fiscal year 2027. This is for possible action. We tabled it in June and moved it to July because we had a couple of dates that needed to be adjusted. So I'm assuming that everything has been adjusted on that sheet.
Yes.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to accept that unless there are questions or changes by any trustee.
I'm sorry, why y'all looking at me?
No, I'm just looking down the line. Looking for. I'll make a motion that we approve the holiday closure schedule for fiscal year 26-27. Second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the library holidays and closures for fiscal year 2027 as included in our documentation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion to approve? The motion to approve carries. All right, and we are to the second portion of item number 7, to the second portion of public comment. Do we have any?
We have 6B administrative updates.
Oh,
We can skip it
apologies.
if, in terms of time, if you want to wait till.
No, that's fine. We can go back to apologies. 6B, administrative update.
This is going to be super quick.
Hello, I'm Sierra, for the record, the administrative assistant. I've never been up here. I'm always over there. It's weird. I do not have a presentation planned. I was on vacation and I was just told to do this right now, so I'm going to make it really quick and sweet for you. So we just did a library aid recruitment and hiring session. The posting went out quite a few months ago, and so it was a long process before we actually started doing the interviews, which we did last month, and we hired 10 library aides. Actually 9, we're still waiting on one position, but most branches got the aides that they needed. There were 12 openings, but we only hired for 10 at the direction of our director. And most people have been on board and are ready to go. We just have a couple people who are waiting to start this month and August. Was there anything else you wanted me to mention?
No.
Cool beans. Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Sierra. All right, now moving on to item number 7, public comment. Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move to number 8, which is staff announcements. Any other staff announcements?
Debbie Steers, Collection Development Manager. Just want to share with you all, I am here just as Collection Development Manager. No longer serving in capacity as Acting Assistant Director. I want to thank all of you, but especially my colleagues who have been so gracious through the process. It was a heck of a ride. We've been through a lot, but it was such an incredible learning opportunity, and I got to learn all the nooks and crannies of the library system. The chaos that is a snow day. I woke up in that really early morning of a heavy snow and thought, oh, I wonder if they're gonna close the library today. I'm like, oh no, that's me. So I am very happy to not be responsible for all of those decisions. But what I do want to share is just the incredible respect I have for my colleagues from the top to the bottom of the pay scale. This team shows up. They make such magic happen with such meager resources, and they show up for our community day in and day out. And I've seen nothing like it. I can't say enough good things about the folks that you have. So board, you've got such an incredible staff who can make so much happen. I'm really excited to see what magic you're going to make.
Thank you, Debbie. I know I will speak for all of us and just say that we appreciate you stepping in, stepping up, leaning in, all the things you did during the transition. And I know that your staff helped you in all the branches, and it is an incredible staff. And I do know from just my 2 years that they do that. They do step in, they step up, they reach out. And so it is exciting times. Looking forward to, smoother sails as we move in and we welcome Director McClure and fill the needs and, do all of the things that we are all here, to help support the library. So any other staff announcements? All right, I will adjourn the meeting. It is 8:15. Thank you all for coming.
I mean, still.